The new PS Plus is here. Did Rockstar just reveal a subscription service for GTA? Sony's finally putting some work in on Gran Turismo 7, and is Netflix bringing back old PlayStation games? Well, we're gonna find out in today's episode of PlayStation News. Alright, so there have been rumors for weeks now that we would be seeing the new version of PS Plus that Sony's been cooking up behind the scenes for a long time now, and the rumors were true because this morning they announced the new tiered system for PlayStation Plus. There's some good, there's some not so good. We will jump into it all right now, but first let's talk about the tiers and how much the service costs. So there are 3 tiers in total. The first one is called PlayStation Plus Essential, the second one is called PlayStation Plus Extra, and the third one is called PlayStation Plus Premium. PlayStation Plus Essential is essentially what you're already paying for. It costs $9.99, and what you get with it is the same benefits as PlayStation Plus members who have it right now. You get 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage for game saves, and online multiplayer access. The second tier is PlayStation Plus Extra. That's going to cost you $14.99 monthly, $39.99 quarterly, or $99.99 yearly. And what you get is everything that's included with PlayStation Plus Essential, but you also get a catalog of 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from PlayStation Studios catalog, third-party partners as well. And most importantly, they are very clear that the games in this catalog are downloadable to your console to be able to be played on it. And they say PS5, so that's technically a pretty big upgrade. And later in the article, they also give us a few games from PlayStation Studios that we'll be seeing in the service, and they're actually really good. They say at launch they plan to include such titles as Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal. And then finally is PlayStation Plus Premium, which is going to cost you $17.99 a month, $49.99 quarterly, and $120 yearly. You get 340 extra games in your library, which does include PS3 games, but unfortunately, and somewhat like mind-blowingly, these are just streamable games. They're not downloadable to your console. That is not great. I really don't like that, but that's not the end of it. There's still more stuff to talk about. You also get an extra catalog of classic games, both streaming and downloadable, and these ones are from the original PlayStation, the PS2, and the PSP. In addition, you can also stream these PS1, PS2, PSP, and PS4 games, just like you can if you have PS Now. You can do the same thing on PC. And then finally, you're getting time-limited game trials. Now, it doesn't say if these are downloadable or streamed. I would guess they're downloadable, like you download a special version of the game. You get around 2 hours or so to try it out, and then if you like it, you can buy it. If you don't, you can delete it. This was actually a feature on the PlayStation 3 a long time ago, but they ended up getting rid of it on the PlayStation 4. That's just kind of interesting to me. Now, the big complaint I foresee hearing coming forward is with the price of this, because these prices are a little expensive. I mean, the highest tier option at a monthly price of $18 is $3 more than what you're paying a monthly price for on Game Pass Ultimate, which obviously also gets you the day one exclusives on Xbox. But if you do the math, the thought process Sony had here is that if you take the current cost of PlayStation Plus and combine it with the current cost of a year of PlayStation Now, you get $120. So it seems that's how they landed on this $120 price to get you a subscription to PlayStation Plus Premium. Now, that's an explanation, but it's not really a justification. I do think these prices are a little crazy considering that cloud streaming isn't really the best service on planet Earth, especially with PlayStation Now. And finally, the PS3 games you're getting included are streamable. And another thing they're not very clear on is if this library of PS1, PS2, and PSP games, and I guess kind of the PS3 games, is going to scan your library for games you previously bought and give you access to them if you don't have the subscription. Now, the fact that the PS3 games are cloud streaming only, that basically says to me, no, you're not only going to have to pay for this service, you're going to have to play the games that we include in the streamable service, and that's it. I just personally don't really like this. I think it's pretty bad that in 2022 Sony can't figure out some way to make PS3 games run natively on the PlayStation 5, especially considering how powerful this console is. We've also heard they're working on it, so it might be coming in the future. Maybe the streaming service will be updated or something to include downloadable PS3 games, but at launch it does not have them, and that's bad because the Xbox has had it since the last generation, and they go all the way back to the original Xbox. So it is good that we can download PS1, PS2, and PSP games. I'm honestly surprised we can download PSP games, but I want to be able to access the PSP games I bought already. I shouldn't have to subscribe to a service to be able to download them and play them on a console if it has that capability. Now, they haven't said whether or not that's the case. They also said they'll be showing off this new service later today, so they could reveal that, yeah, if you own PSP games that you bought during the Vita era, which which is totally believable since you could digitally buy those games and download them on that console, then everything's kind of kosher. But I really want to hear from them also if they are working on native playable PS3 games. The fact, again, that we can play PS2 and PSP games and PS1 games on the console probably means they just couldn't get it ready to go for launch and they're working on it. I just need to hear a confirmation from them that they are working on it. It's also not clear if this game library that they've created is going to include the games that come with the PlayStation Plus collection, because while the ones they listed are great, I mean, it's awesome that it includes Returnal and Miles Morales. Those are two of the best PS5 showcase games that we've gotten since the console launch. I want to know if they're getting rid of all those other awesome games that were included with the PlayStation Plus collection, or if those are going to be looped into the service as well. I mean, there is some overlap in the ones they listed. I'm just not sure, again, because they don't specifically say what's going to happen to the PlayStation Plus collection. But the fact that there's going to be hundreds of games in this catalog is good. Also, that you're going to be able to download PS5 games and run those natively finally is also good. Now, as for when this is all launching, the rumors basically said we would get it today or by the end of this week. Unfortunately, that is untrue. We will be waiting until June to get access to this new PlayStation Plus, which is kind of far away. You know, we're just about to hit April. On the surface, I'm pretty excited for this. I think it's pretty good. It's not amazing. It's not incredible. It's nowhere near the value you get with Game Pass, but you know, it doesn't really need to be. Sony's games are of a higher quality, I think, than a lot of Microsoft's first party stuff. They aren't including it day one, but they are including a lot of it just to download on day one of the service. You're just not going to be able to get these games the moment they come out like you do with Xbox, and to me that's totally fine. We've seen the effects of this. Halo Infinite came out in December, and that game's essentially getting close to dead at this point because they just stopped supporting it. I don't know why they haven't released new stuff for that game, but it's basically in a similar state that it launched to, except for a few patches. They have fixed the microtransaction store. It was pretty out of whack, and all of the free events were just pushing you to the microtransaction store. So that's bad. I don't like that. And if we get these day one exclusives on the PlayStation side, Sony's gonna have to offset that cost in a very similar way to Microsoft. So for now, I'm just gonna plan on keep buying the games when they come out, but there's nothing to say that if you just wait, they won't end up on PlayStation Plus's games catalog now. The other thing that we're not clear on is how long these games are gonna stay on there. Like the selection of games that they gave us, that list of a few games that I talked about earlier, are we only gonna have access to those for a few months? Like when they add new games to the service, are those going to leave, or are they just gonna keep piling on top of it and give you eventually this huge catalog of awesome PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games to download to your console? This is all very unclear. Of course, they say they're talking about it more later today, so we'll just have to wait and see. And if you want to know everything about it, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have your notifications set to all. So with the release of Grand Theft Auto 5 on next-gen consoles, it seems like Rockstar is really doubling down on the idea of Grand Theft Auto Online just becoming a platform that evolves going forward. Everyone kind of thought we would be getting Grand Theft Auto Online 2 with whenever Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, but this new subscription service they just announced basically confirms that Grand Theft Auto 5's Online is here to stay for at least the near future. It's called GTA Plus, and it's going to cost $5.99 per month, and it's going to give you a monthly recurring bank deposit of $500,000 GTA cash. They're also giving you a supercar called the Principal Deveste 8. It comes with a bunch of body options that you can only get with the subscription service. They're also adding in more features for the Los Santos Tuners update they added with the next gen version. They're waiving and reimbursing the $50,000 fee to do a car meet, and if you own a yacht, you can upgrade to the Aquarius Super Yacht at no additional cost. There's going to be a t-shirt and a basketball top and shorts that'll be added to your wardrobe. I can't say what the top for the basketball top is called because that's a bad word. I don't want to get demonetized here, guys. You're going to get some other freebies and 3 times RP and GTA cash on How's Special Works Race Series. And then finally, you're going to get 2 times more rep on car meetups. Man, this just seems like it's adding in a ton of filler, which kind of explains why it's only costing $5.99 a month. I saw that people who play Grand Theft Auto Online are like, yeah, this is a no-brainer price. I'll get these extra bonuses. I'll get the extra GTA cash. I'll get the extra reputation for less than the cost of Netflix by about half. And when it comes to subscription services like this is not for the person who's looking to get into Grand Theft Auto Online right now. Well, it could be, right? Like if you want to get that one-time bonus that you get every month, but it's mainly for people whose entire life is Grand Theft Auto Online. Like this is the game they eat, sleep, and breathe. They're going to get some extra bonuses with the subscription service. And honestly, if you just want to get the money right away, you could buy 1 month, or I bet they'll make the first month free because that's how terrible services like Fallout First did it back in the day. Guys, Guys, it only took a year, but we finally updated the PSReady merch store. Of course, there's the classic My DualSense is Tingling design. We also have an Elden Ring inspired shirt that says Maidenless on it. And then finally is the shirt I'm wearing, the PSReady Doom Eternal crossover shirt, which was a lot better of an idea in my head before Microsoft bought Bethesda and thus made the Doom franchise Xbox exclusive going forward. But Doom is a classic game, it's a classic design, and I think it looks pretty cool on a t-shirt. If you want to pick up any of the designs, they're in the merch shelf. They're also at staypsready.com, and if you use the code STAYREADY at checkout, you'll get 10% off. As much as I want to just look down on this and be like, why is it a thing? I'm really surprised that Rockstar took this long to add it into GTA Online. I feel like if they did it sooner, the reception would have been better, but right now, people are really looking forward to Grand Theft Auto 6, and they're really coming down hard on Rockstar for just porting Grand Theft Auto 5 over and over again, instead of making Grand Theft Auto 6 or bringing back a franchise like Bully or supporting Red Dead Online. Like, there's so many other things that people want them to be doing, but because Grand Theft Auto Online rakes in so much money, they're just laser focused on adding as much content and microtransactions and things you can pay real money for to that, because why wouldn't they, right? Like, it's a business at the end of the day, and their only goal is to make money, which is super disappointing, I know, but yeah, it's hard not to look at this and just see, oh, I guess from a business standpoint, they're making the right move. But it's gonna hurt them in the long run because their reputation is going down and down and down. I mean, even CD Projekt Red, they fixed Cyberpunk 2077 with these 2 latest patches, and that game's not gonna sell nearly as many copies as it would have if they just waited until this year to release the game on next-gen consoles, and then it came out finished, right? Like, you're always gonna sell more copies of a groundbreaking game if it comes out complete or doesn't price gouge its audience. Now Rockstar has to deal with their dwindling reputation that they're going to have from just continually porting Grand Theft Auto Online. I mean, even if you look at Bethesda, right? Their whole joke, their meme is that they keep porting Skyrim to other consoles, and their defense is that people keep buying Skyrim on other consoles. But the difference is they have released so many more games in the period between Skyrim and now than Rockstar has released between Grand Theft Auto 5 and now. Like, they have released Grand Theft Auto 5 on Xbox 360 and PS3, Grand Theft Auto 5 on PS4 and Xbox One, Grand Theft Auto 5 on PC, Red Dead Redemption 2 on PS4 and Xbox One, Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC, and now Grand Theft Auto 5 on next-gen consoles, the PS5 and Xbox Series X. Like, that release schedule is out of whack completely. Honestly though, if you're playing Grand Theft Auto Online and you want to try this out for a month, I can't really fault you because it is so cheap, and it seems like at least a couple of the bonuses it gives you are at least worth grabbing once, you know? Let me know what you think of this down in the comments, because really, I have no opinion on it other than the fact that Rockstar needs to just start making different games. I want more games or more support for Red Dead Online than what we're getting, which is GTA Online, GTA 5 over and over and over. Next, let's talk about this huge update on the Gran Turismo 7 situation. So if you guys haven't noticed, Gran Turismo 7 is actually the worst user-reviewed PlayStation game ever on Metacritic right now because of a series of decisions that really aren't sitting right with players. So basically, Gran Turismo 7 is a live service game. You need to be connected to the internet to do pretty much anything in the game, other than a few races which you can do offline, but it's really nothing compared to what you get when the game is connected. That really sucks because a lot of the stuff in the game feels like it should be single player, like it was in pretty much every other Gran Turismo game ever. And on top of that, Sony did an update that was like a regular scheduled maintenance thing, and then the game just didn't come back online for over 24 hours, and people were unhappy about this. And then, making matters worse, when the game did come back online, a lot of the races that people were min-maxing and grinding just to get the most credits possible to buy cars, those races gave you way smaller payouts than they did before the scheduled maintenance update. And of course, they did increase the payouts on some other races, but those races take so long to complete and they were already out of whack, so they brought those races up to a normal level, and they took these races that gave you decent payouts for short completion times and they made them pay out way less, so people were really unhappy. Now, I was gonna say thankfully Sony is listening, but I don't really want to pat them on the back for this one. They are listening. They put out a statement that says, "Thank you for your continued support and feedback on GT7. Your voices have not gone unheard. By way of apology, all all players who log on to GT7 before 25th of April will receive 1 million credits as a goodwill gesture. That's not where it ends though. A big patch arriving in April will make the following adjustments to the in-game economy. Increase rewards in the events in the later half of the world circuits by approximately 100% on average. Addition of high rewards for clearing the circuit experience and all gold, all bronze results. Increase rewards in online races, include a total of 8 new 1-hour endurance race events to missions. These will also have higher reward settings. Increase the upper limit of non-paid credits and player wallets from 20 million to 100 million. Increase the quality of used and legend cars on offer at any given time. So essentially what they're doing is introducing a patch to rebalance how payouts work, and they're adding in some new ways to get cars easier, but that doesn't solve the major problem, which is that the prices of cars in this game is completely out of whack. I mean, you could take some cars that were available for reasonable credit prices in Gran Turismo Sport and compare them to the exact same car in Gran Turismo 7, and they have increased the credits you need to buy them by a lot. So they want to make sure you either have to grind to get any cool car you actually want, or you could just buy a bunch of credits with real money and then just get the car right away. Now, the excuse that they gave last time this was brought up was that, like, oh, these cars are valuable in real life, so we want to make sure that value is conveyed in the price of the car in the game. But in real life, you can sell your cars. You can't do that in Gran Turismo 7, I'm pretty sure. And on top of that, it's really just obviously offset so that you'll buy credits and then buy the cars with real money, which is not fun. It's not what you want to see in a first-party Sony game. And I want to praise them for updating it and making it so that it's easier to get cars and easier to get credits. But they were seeing how far they could push it. They were seeing how many microtransactions they could introduce. They expected blowback. I'm sure they didn't expect it to be this bad, like making it the lowest user scored PlayStation game of all time, but still, they knew this was going to happen. I bet they had this recalibration ready to go, and we got to keep hammering them on this stuff. It honestly makes sense that they would try this in Gran Turismo 7, because a lot of the hardcore Horizon Zero Dawn, Metal Gear Solid, God of War Ragnarok, Ghost of Tsushima fanbase probably isn't tuned into Gran Turismo 7, so they can use it as a sort of testing ground for all their microtransaction stuff so they can introduce it down the line later, and no one wants that, right? Like, they have a really good system right now where they release a single player game. It has all the content in the game. If they release costumes after the fact, they're free, and then if it gets an expansion, it comes out a year later, it adds content to the middle of the game, and they charge a fair price for it. That is a totally great model that Sony gets praised for consistently, but you knew that they were looking at the entire gaming industry around them, raking in all this money on microtransactions, and they said, we want some of that. So I'm glad people hammered them enough on Gran Turismo 7 to get them to change course, but we got to stay vigilant on this one, because it's just going to get worse as time goes on. So for this next story, we have an update on that weird situation we had last summer where a bunch of Ghost of Tsushima and other DualSense related icons and images showed up on the back end of Netflix. Like, someone data mined it and it was there, and then nothing ever happened with it. Now, since then, Netflix has been digging deep into buying game studios, setting up a side company called Netflix Games, and for the most part, these games have only been releasing on iOS and Android. And on top of that, they also bought the rights back for the Stranger Things games that they made for seasons 2 and 3. They like licensed the license out to a developer who made a game, and then they bought the game, I guess. But either way, Netflix has been working hard to get games out there, and I guess you can find them in the Netflix app, but again, they're mostly phone games. But the reason we're talking about that at all today is because this mysterious PlayStation connection has sort of reared its head once again. So way back in 2009, there was a game on the PSN called Shatter, and it was one of the first games to come to the PSN as a downloadable only game to combat the whole Xbox arcade thing that was going on at the time. And this was a super addictive game. It was a brick breaker. It was kind of like an evolution on the brick breaker, but a lot of people consider it like the perfect brick breaker game. And it did really well on the PlayStation 3, both commercially and critically, and a sequel was announced, but it just never materialized. And now this game is back because Netflix has released a full-on remaster of Shatter for free, once again, on iOS and Android. Now, it's not clear if the developers of Shatter own the rights to Shatter or if Sony did, but either way, it's curious to see a previously PlayStation exclusive game show up under the Netflix Games banner, and it got me thinking about if we could see that connection that we saw last year between Ghost of Tsushima and Netflix later down the line. Now, obviously Sony has PlayStation Now, which is kind of like their own Netflix of games where you can literally stream PlayStation 3 games, and it would be interesting to see if Netflix added some sort of capability there, or if this Ghost of Tsushima movie Sony is working on ends up going to Netflix, and then we see some sort of way to stream the first few hours of Ghost of Tsushima on Netflix, or you get a code or something that allows you to try the game out at a discounted price. There's so many different ways that this could be utilized connecting PlayStation and Netflix. It's just hard to not think about this connection actually happening. I'm also really curious how big the games Netflix is working on are, because a lot of the games they've released so far under the Netflix games banner have just been iOS games or Android games that they bought and then packaged up and re-released with the little N in the corner. So it's nothing too crazy. Like, they haven't had very many new games other than the Shatter remake, but still, it's cool to see that they're making games. I would like to see some AAA stuff around Stranger Things come out on the PS5. That would be awesome, because these pixel games they made for like the Nintendo Switch, those were cool, but I want to see a AAA game. They just had a partnership with Far Cry 6 where the Mind Flare makes its way into the world of Far Cry 6 and it looks really cool. So I'd like to see a full-on game from Netflix games. That's like my pie in the sky wish. But for now, we have a remaster of a PlayStation 3 exclusive download game that was one of the first downloadable games.